Hello, are we live? Awesome. Welcome back to the day 3 of the HTML and CSS live class. So today we are going to apply what we learned. We are going to create our own online resume. We are going to create our own website which hosts all the skills. Alright, so we're going to wait for a while. We're going to let some people join in, then we're going to start. Up until then, let's see who is here. Hey Gautam Chaudhary, hey Lokesh, hey Praneeth, hey Sai Chiran, hey Sri Ganesh. So people are coming in. So come on. So if you guys have any sort of friends who are also interested in programming, invite them in, share this video URL. We are going to do some exciting stuff today. We're going to create our own website. This is going to be really exciting. It's just day 3 of this program and we're already creating websites. So that's sort of incredible. So once again, hi Kranti, hi Ajay. Awesome. So people are coming in. Most of you guys have followed us for the past 2 days. That's incredible. Hey Akhil, how are you? How are you all? Awesome. We'll wait a couple of more minutes. We'll start the class exactly at 7:05. We'll just wait 5 minutes for people to join in. And since it's the last lecture for this particular workshop, let's kind of try to get all our energy, all our focus up until together, and let's create something really nice. All right. So we'll wait for people up until then. If you have any sort of questions up until then regarding the last class or the previous class of that for the past 2 classes, you guys can kind of post your questions in the comment section, as well as if you have any sort of links that you made. Your teaching is very satisfying. All right, thanks Ajay. Up until then, if you have any sort of questions, please do leave them in the comment section. Other than that, if you guys have followed me by creating your own website, if you have your own links that you made in the past 2 days, please do share them in the comment section. I would love to see them. We actually have a website which is done by one of our students. Hey Gopi. Yes Ajay, we're working on creating more videos on a lot more subjects, not only on web development. Web development is something that we picked because it serves as a very basic introduction to programming to anybody who's new to programming. We just wanted to clear this whole stigma of people being scared of programming. That was the reason we chose web development. It's this perfect entry point in which other technology that by spending almost 2 to 2.5 hours, you can start to create your own website and you're going to create your own application. That's the beauty of web development, and that's the reason we chose this. And so far it's been really nice. You guys are learning really quickly. Would you take a course on JavaScript? Absolutely, Supradeep. So we are working on a really good course on JavaScript, which is going to be available on the Cynohub app. So guys, if you are a B.Tech student or if you're looking to learn skills that are going to help you in terms of getting a job, do check out the Cynohub app. Go to Google Play Store, search for Cynohub. It's Cynohub, and you're going to find a lot of good stuff. So it's basically an exclusive online learning platform for B.Tech students. So if you're a B.Tech student, if you want to learn your subjects a lot more practically than what your university curriculum offers, which is a lot more theoretical, so we focused heavily on the practical aspect of things. So whatever the concepts that you're going to learn, you can actually implement it in the real life. So we made it sort of in that way. So do check out Cynohub. Go to Google Play Store, search for Cynohub. It's Cynohub. All right. Awesome. Any more questions? By the way, also the whole HTML course is also available on the Cynohub app. Hey Sainath, how are you? The whole HTML and CSS course that we talked about in the last 2 days, as well as the thing that we're going to talk about today, all of this is discussed into a lot more in depth and a lot more clearly inside the Cynohub app. You can go and check out. There is this particular section called as the job skills section, in which we have a lot more than just HTML and CSS. I think you guys are really going to enjoy that. Also, we'll wait a couple of more minutes and we're going to start really soon. And we're actually back in codesandbox.io. This platform is a lot better than StackBlitz. So day 1 we used StackBlitz. Yesterday we started off with CodeBlitz. Hey Dheeraj. Hey Devinder. Hi. Tejanaga, I missed second day's class. Yes, Teja, you can kind of check out the channel. By the way, guys, if you missed the day 1 or day 2 of this class, you can kind of check out our YouTube channel. Just you can go to the channel and you'll find the day 1 and day 2 lectures. We sort of trim the unnecessary part and put only the interesting stuff or only the valuable stuff, so you can kind of like, you know, spend a little less time and learn stuff very, very quickly. And like I said, while you go forward, as you go forward, you're going to work on a lot more bigger websites, and for that you are going to need a team. So bring in 2 of your best friends, sit down, learn together, so that, you know, once this is done, my voice is going this early in the stream. Hey Sai, what is your actual name? Sai Ninja. Bring on your best friends, kind of, you know, 3 of you guys sit down, learn, and based on that, once the course is done, you can kind of like create your own websites and a lot of more good stuff. You can collaborate on multiple websites. Alright, 2 more minutes and we're going to start very, very soon. Today we're actually going to work on a real life project. We are going to create a resume. Hey Pranay, how are you? Is my voice loud enough? Is my, you know, the speed at which I'm speaking clear enough? Is this, you know, the pace which you guys are able to follow? Suggest me hosting planes and hosting company. Lokesh, in order to, I think you're talking about web hosting. There are multiple ways in which you can host your websites. You know, one simplest way is to kind of like, you know, host your website on Netlify, the way we are doing at the moment. You can go to app.netlify.com/drop. Hey Beast Assemble, hi, how are you guys? So that is one of the simplest ways. It doesn't require you to sign in, create an account and all that. It's just, you know, drag and drop a folder, gives you a website URL. Another ways which you can do, which you can host website, is through a Godaddy hosting, web hosting, or you can also use Firebase hosting. But I think these are a bit complex. You'd have to study a little bit more into that, into how things work, as well as you can also host in GitHub as well. Hey Pragna, hey Saina, today 2 topics about CSS and resume. Yes, today we are going to use HTML and CSS to create our own resume. Awesome. So let's start off. It's 7:05. If people join in, they can just rewind the class. Alright, so once you guys have joined, let's get started. So create on this create sandbox button. Provide participate certificates. Dheeraj, I mean, what is the use of certificates if we really talk about it? Great. So hope you guys have created a new sandbox just like this. So this just kind of like give you a brief. This is sort of, you know, the website or the thing, whatever the code that you wrote, this is going to be passed or rendered into this one. Also guys, do not focus really that heavily on certificates, because, you know, certificates are not going to be worth really anything. All that matters is when you're going out for a job interview or when you're looking for jobs, all that it matters is the projects that you have done. So this itself is a very, very important class, because, you know, we are going to create a project which you can showcase, which you can use as your online resume, your own website, right? So don't focus on certificates, focus on work experience as well as projects. So build more projects and gain some more experience instead of certificates. Great. UV, host on GitLab. Yeah, you can also host on GitLab. Alright, PHP or Python for backend, which is best, sir? It depends, Lokesh. Depends on, you know, the scale of the application as well. You can also use JavaScript for backend. There are several different technologies which you can use to kind of like, you know, set up your own backend as well as database structures as well. So we'll talk a lot more about that in further classes. Satyasai, your video is lagging. There seems to be some sort of issue with a couple of streams where people are finding the video to be lagging. But if my voice is coming through clear enough, I think that should be fine, because, you know, most of the text is going to be a lot more clearer. So let's just go forward. Alright, so let's get started. Immediately let's remove everything that we have here, save it. So we have a blank canvas. Awesome. And what I really suggest is click on this edge button here, open the whole thing in a new window. It kind of gives us a lot more flexibility in terms of viewing the website in its full entirety, right? So I'll quickly recap the fundamentals once again. So this is the head of the website, this particular tab thing which you see above. This is the head of the website, and the text inside the tab is called as a title, which is the main title of our website. And this whole white thing which is right behind me is the body of the website. All right, open a WhatsApp group. All right, Dheeraj, if you have any sort of questions, you can kind of like, leave them in the comments here in the other videos as well. At any point in time, we can come back. I'll keep checking comments. So if you have any sort of questions, I'll respond very, very quickly. But if you have sort of any questions, I will provide a WhatsApp number to which you guys can text, and I'll try to resolve them as quickly as possible. All right. Yeah, so this is the whole body of the website, and a website consists of three main parts: the head, the body, as well as the foot. So I hope you guys remember that. And HTML relies heavily on tags, right? So what are tags? Tags are this open and close things which are used to kind of like, encapsulate other stuff. All right. So we have heading tags, paragraph tags, your head, body, as well as your footer. All three of them are tags. All right. So let's get started. Let's start off with writing some code. So one thing that we discussed yesterday, in order for any HTML document, it's good practice to kind of like first have a HTML tag. So we'll do that first. HTML, and you know how to close a tag by now. We've been opening and closing tags for a good amount of time for the past 2 days. You're going to open a tag with a word, the specific syntax between the the less than and greater than symbols, and you're going to close a tag with the same exact syntax but a slash in front. Can you please explain HTML or CSS tags where define, equal to, and colon? All right, I'll explain that. Inside the HTML, we're obviously going to have the three main parts of our website, which is the head. The second thing is the body. If you don't write these particular tags, the website is still going to function. It's just that, it's a common structure that is followed through all the websites all across the internet, that we use this sort of tags to kind of like, segment and segregate things. So it's sort of like just a good practice to write it. It's just a web developer code to write all of this stuff. But one thing you absolutely have to know is, your website is going to work even if you write these tags or not. But definitely do write them, because when people open up your website in Internet Explorer or some other different browser which is not as modern as Google Chrome or Mozilla Firefox, there could be some issues. So always do follow the standard procedure so that your website stays consistent and looks consistent across different websites. Great. So one thing which I want to kind of like, start off with is, we talked about yesterday how the whole HTML is focused on boxes, right? I told you that any element in the HTML is basically a box. Right, so we also kind of like, we did a paragraph tag, for example. We did a paragraph, and let's say I have some content. Hello, this is a paragraph, and if I add a border, this is where you add the style attribute. All right, so there was this question of the difference between equal to as well as colon, right? So the main difference between equal to as well as colon is that, whenever you're writing equal to, which means that, it's basically used for attributes. All right. So we talked about attributes a lot in the past 2 classes. So this style is basically an attribute, which means it's going to take in additional information. So which means that, inside this style attribute, we are going to add in parameters, or all this is parameters, attributes is just basically jargon to tell that we are providing additional information for this particular tag, in this case p tag. In this p tag, we are going to add some more new styles into it. The style is, we're going to say background is red. I'm going to save it. Hello, this is the paragraph, and we have a huge bold background of rectangle, which indicates, like I said, in HTML, all of these things are basically rectangles or blocks or boxes, and this sort of like, you proves my theory, hence proved. All right. So we have this paragraph tag, and what we can also do is, I can remove this whole paragraph tag, I can save, and we also talked about div tags or division tags, which means, there are division or blocks of elements which we can kind of contain in under one single tag. So I'm going to have a div tag. All right. And inside this div tag, and for this div tag, I'm going to add some styles onto it. So what I really want to do is, I want to kind of like, if I want to create a red box, right? So a red box is something like that. What I'm going to do is, inside the style, I'm going to specify the width, 100 pixels, right? And here is the absolute difference that you're going to notice. Whenever we are going to kind of like, create an attribute. Inside this attribute, we are going to have multiple properties, right? Inside style, we can add several different styles. So in that case, you are going to add an equal to, and inside the attribute, when you are assigning a value to a particular property, you are going to add a colon. This is going to be a lot more. Yes, exactly. So colon is going to be used for parameters. Absolutely well said. And I'm also going to add a height of 100 pixels. If I do that, we're not going to see anything because it's basically white at this point in time, and I can say background is green. Okay, I'll just pull this over so you guys can see the code clearly, and I'll refresh the website and show you here. Alright, I'll zoom in a little bit. Great. Alright, so we created an empty div tag. So we created an empty division tag, we gave it sort of like, you know, a height and a width, and we gave it a background color. So what basically HTML did is, it created a block, right? So whenever we create an element, it's either it's a div or a paragraph or a heading tag, it creates a block, and it sort of assigned a height and a width to this block, which means it is 100 pixel of width and it's 100 pixel high, and inside this 100 pixel and 100 pixel box, it sort of added a color, and that particular color is green. Right? So that's how we do things. And one more thing which I wanted to show you is, we can also add sort of a little bit more styling if we want to kind of like, you know, make this box look a lot more neater. At this point in time, this box has sharp edges, right? So if I don't want this box to have sharp edges, what I can do is, I can say border radius and 12 pixels, let us say. Hope you guys can see this. So border radius, what it basically does is, it creates this nice, neat little curvature around the box. So now it looks a lot more clean, a lot more sophisticated, right? It looks like a modern professional website. So remember this particular property, border radius. Basically, what it does is it kind of like creates a small circle around it, and as the circle grows nearer, the square is going to have, or the box is going to have, these neat little soft corners. One more cool trick which I want to show is, if I do border radius as 50%, by the way, you can also add pixels, 50%, anything. So if I do that and if I hit refresh, we're going to get this nice, neat little circle. All right. Great. Rupesh, can you please explain how to host a website? Awesome. So Rupesh, we did host a website for the past 2 classes. So you're going to learn how to host a website at the end of this lecture. So stay tuned, follow along, so that, you know, once at the end of the lecture, you'll have something to host. All right, so this is done. This is so that's the sort of thing which I wanted to show you guys. And now that this div is done, I want to show you something else. For example, now let's say I have another div. Okay, sorry. I'm just going to leave this whole thing right here. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it again. And instead of green, I'm going to say red. All right. Say BR. Okay. Let's just remove the border radius. I don't think it is going to make any difference. Can you use live server extension for better? Yes, we can use live server extension. That you know, when you're using advanced code editors such as Sublime Text or Visual Studio Code instead of like, you know, Code Sandbox, you can use live server. But for us, what are the changes that we're making here? It's clearly visible on the right. So I don't think we're going to need any live server for this point in time. Right. So basically what I really wanted to show you is, for example, let's just say, let's remove all of this. Sorry for the whole confusion. Let's create a one div. All right. Let's also create one more div, which means we are creating 2 divisions. What I'm basically trying to do is I'm trying to put 2 things side by side. Now, up until now, whatever that we have created, we are kind of like, you know, stacking things on bottom of each other, right? We're kind of like going in a line to line basis. Now, what I really want to do is I want to put things on side to side, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. So how do I do that? I do it using a special property in CSS called as float. So what I'm going to do is inside this div tag, I'm going to say paragraph, this paragraph should be towards the left, and we're going to create another paragraph inside another div towards the right. Alright, save it, go back, refresh. Now it looks something like this. Now once again, one is below the other. I don't want it like this. I want this to be towards the right. So what I'm going to do is also let's add a border so it looks a lot more neat. So we are going to add a style attribute. 1 pixel, solid, red. If you guys remember how to add borders, this is how we do. The same exact thing for the bottom tag. This one I'm going to add green. If I save and if I sort of refresh, oops, it's not working. Why is it not working? Alright, I made a very rookie mistake. Instead of colon, I put equal to. Now it works, and it doesn't work for the other one. Oops, I'm a lot clumsier today. Great, it works. Alright, so we put two boxes for these two paragraphs. Now what I want to do is I want to stack them beside each other. So what I'm going to do is I have this special CSS property called as float, right? Yeah, Satyasai, semicolon, exactly. No, that's colon, not semicolon. Yeah. So there is a special CSS property called as float, which basically means that, you know, let's say we have like two different divs, right? Float, basically what it does is it kind of like arranges the elements to one particular side. And for float, what it takes is it takes a direction as an input. For example, if I say float left, this is what happens. So this particular red paragraph, it basically floats towards the left, and whatever the content that is left in, on the below it is just going to float towards the right. All right. So the reason why we're going over float right now is, you know, it's going to be very, very useful when you're going to create a resume. So what I really want to have for our resume is, you know, I want to have two different sections. On the left section, I want to kind of like have an image, your basic details and all that stuff. On the right, I want to have the career objective, your skills, your educational experience, your work experience, and so on and so forth. Right? I'm also going to give you a couple of resume tips, which are going to be very, very helpful in terms of when you're creating your actual resume. Great. So so now you guys know what float is. Now you know what kind of like, you know, how to use float. We're going to get in. You'll have a lot more practice. You'll kind of like intuitively understand when to use and when not to use float as you go further and practice a lot more stuff. All right, so let's get started with a resume then. Let's get started with creating some actual website. All right, so Supradeep, really nice tip. Thank you for kind of like, you know, reminding me that. So what we can also do is, okay, I'll just show you explanation as we go forward. All right. So let's just start off by creating our resume website. So first thing what we're going to do is we're going to obviously have a HTML tag. Inside that we're going to have a head tag, and next the body, and for these starting websites it doesn't matter if you guys have a footer tag or not, but let's just say it's good practice and let's just put in footer as well. All right, so inside the head what we're going to do is we are going to add a title like we do to all our websites, and inside the title we are going to say resume of my name. Oops. Great. If I save and if I go back and if I refresh, all right, everything goes away, but now on the tab it says resume of Vamshi Krishna. All right, great. So now that we have the title, now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the body. So like I said, I want my resume to be two different parts. One section towards the left, one section towards the right. The left section should occupy at least 25% of width, and the right section should occupy the remaining 75% of width. Right? So we're going to create two divs or two divisions. And we're going to create another div. Right. Inside the first div, let's start off by adding an image. right? So first thing we need to add an image, and I want to show you something really, really cool. If you go to the next new tab, if you open a new tab and if you go to robohash.org, I'm going to leave this link in the comment. And I see some website in that images are moving. Can you explain how to do that? Images are moving. So if one reason how images could move is, I think, by using GIF. But if you're like indicating about the actual physical movement about the images, we can do that. It's a little bit complicated. We can use keyframes in CSS, which are not going to be in this particular 3D lecture, but there is a possibility. But I have to kind of like search about that, or I'll try to kind of like leave some sources for you to learn about that as well. All right. So what is RoboHash? RoboHash is this very, very cool website which creates images based on the string that you create. All right. So if I go down, you have this empty input field, right? So type something there. For example, type your own name and click on generate. What happens is it creates an image based on my particular name, and you get this neat little URL for that particular image. So what I can do is I can copy this URL. I can go back into my website, and inside my div, I can create an image tag, and for that I can give a source attribute of that particular link. And if I save it, and if I go back and if I refresh, there is my image. All right. This image is going to vary for you. It's going to be custom built for you based on your particular name. This is a very, very cool website that I use whenever I want to have some sort of image. Now what I'm going to do is, this image is way too big, so I'm going to size it. Remember, we can either size the images using the inbuilt width and height attributes, or we can write the style attribute. Width is 150 pixels. Height is also 150 pixels. If I save it, now it's going to look a lot more smaller. Nope, it doesn't. I think it by default it takes pixels, does it? Yep. Yeah, so by default it's taking pixels, so it doesn't matter. So you guys can kind of like, you know, write 150 or height 150. But if you want to specify what you're writing, you can always go back to the style attribute and be a lot more clear with it. 150 pixels and height 150 pixels. Basically, it's just the same thing. You don't have to worry about what happens. You know, when I refresh, obviously there's nothing that's going to change. It just takes a little bit while to load. All right. So now we have the image tag. Now what I want to do is, yeah. So now what I want to do is, I want to kind of like, you know, showcase this image. Sort of, I want to have a border for this image. Kind of like, you know, emphasize the value of that particular image. So what I can do is, I'm going to go into the style and I'm going to give it a border. Oops, yeah, border of 1 pixel, solid. For now, I'm just going to give it black. And if I refresh it, you're going to get this neat little border around our image. Now what I want to do is, I want to say border radius 50%, right? If I do that, and if I go back and if I hit refresh, it looks a lot more cleaner. Obviously, you can kind of like, you know, replace it with your own image. The way we kind of like learned how to do that yesterday, by dragging and dropping it back into this particular file section. You can replace it by using your own image. Okay. So we'll kind of like replace this image with mine very soon. All right. So one more thing which I want to mention here is that, you know, this thing, this whole style big line that we wrote, you know, for this particular image tag or the image element, this whole writing it inside this particular tag is called as inline CSS. Right? We're writing the CSS within that particular element. That's the reason why it's called as inline CSS. The other way that we can do is that, you know, we can have it a little bit more cleaner by going into the head tag, and HTML actually gives us a different type of tag called as a style tag. STYLE. All right. Once again, similar, just like any other tag, we can use a style tag to sort of like, you know, open and close it. and whatever the styles that you're going to write into this particular tag, what HTML is going to do is it's going to take those styles, apply to the elements that are written in the whole entire document, right? For example, now we are trying to kind of like, you know, add all these styles to the image tag, right? So let's just delete all the style from here till here. All right, go back, and inside the style, the way we add styles is by doing something like this. Since we are going to add a style to the image tag, we can just say img. That is the same exact syntax that we use for the tag basically, and we can open a curly braces, open and close curly braces. It's basically why you took only 1 pixel in border. The reason why I'm taking only 1 pixel in border is that, you know, the kind of like, you know, instead of me answering that, you know, why don't you take 10 pixels or 20 pixels and try it out, you'll find the difference of why I'm taking 1 pixel versus why I'm taking 20 pixels. Yesterday, I kind of like showcased this, what happens if you take 20 pixels, basically we get a huge bold border. All right, so once again, without deviating, so for the image tag, you open and close the curly braces, which means, you know, whatever the style that you're going to write inside this, all of them will be applied to the image tag, since we're going to write a lot more styles, more than one. Right? So inside the image, once again, I'm going to say height of 150 pixels. And if I just save, and if I go back, and if I refresh, great. So now the border and all of them are gone. I'm also going to specify the width. I want it to be 150 pixels. We also added a border, 1 pixel solid black. And we also added a border radius. Basically, we added the border radius just to kind of like, you know, give it a good look. Save and refresh. The same exact result, but it looks a lot more cleaner, right? Now, we have all of the styles in under one particular tag, and all of the HTML looks a lot more cleaner all of a sudden, right? Also, do not forget, you have to include the style inside the head tag, because, you know, the head tag is the first thing that loads up when you open a website. So all of these styles get applied at that point in time. So always keep your style tag inside the head. If I'm going to take this style tag and replace it or place it somewhere else, it's not going to work. All right, so we're going to quickly go forward. All right, inside the left div, below the image, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of my details. You know, that's what is mainly required for a resume, right? So we're going to add my name in a big bold H2 tag. H2. If I save and if I go back and if I refresh, there is a neat little name for me, and I'm also going to, all right, I'll just bow down if it's required. All right, so below the name, what I can do is I can also kind of like, you know, give some of my details. For example, if I want to give my phone number, it's going to be in paragraph tag. Some phone number. If I refresh, I have a random phone number. No phone number is going to be this big. And we can also sort of like, you know, give your email address as well. The main essential elements for any particular resume, just like any specific ingredients for, you know, like milk, egg and flour for cooking a cake. You know, your email address, your name and phone number are very, very important in terms of while you're creating your resume. My email address at batman.com or something else. All right, we save, we go back and we refresh, we have our email address as well. All right, we have some sort of details on the left, right? We can also add sort of, you know, our experience, our skill set, or anything of such of that. Kind of like you can add your Facebook links, you can add your LinkedIn links. Always have a LinkedIn account whenever you're applying for jobs. That's another tip. You can have your GitHub links, whatever the code that you're going to write. Please make sure you're uploading them in GitHub, or having a copy, or any websites if you created, sort of like have a link of them in that particular section. So whenever a recruiter kind of like, you know, opens up your resume, that's the first thing that they're going to see. They're going to see the work that you've done, because for a recruiter to recruit you, or to kind of like, you know, to hire you, the first major thing that they're going to focus on is the work that you've done, is your personal experience. Can you please explain how to add drop down values? Sure, Rupesh. In terms of adding drop down values, I think you have to kind of like add a select tag. Inside the select tag, you have to add an option tag. We'll talk a lot more about that in detail later. All right. So now that we have these three details on the left, what I want to do is I want to kind of like, you know, add a lot more details onto the right. So I want this section only to be visible on the left, and towards the right we have this white empty space in which I want to kind of like, you know, add other details. So firstly, what do we add inside the second div? You know, what else does a resume contain? The first thing that a resume contains is a career objective, right? And one thing which I want to kind of like, you know, specifically mention is that, you know, whenever you're writing career objectives, don't blindly copy paste it from other resumes on the internet, because, you know, as recruiters, whenever we go through 15 to 20 resumes, I see the same exact career objective written through all across all the resumes, just modified or tweaked a little bit. Genuinely take some time, understand what you want to become. Career objective is basically, you know, what do you want to become in the next 5 or 10 years, right? What is your end goal? What kind of like a developer that you want to be? For example, if you want to be a web developer, in the career objective you are going to write to become a very professional as well as, you know, experienced web developer who can design and develop websites that and also at the same time improve and hone upon my skills, and also, you know, sort of explain the recruiter what you want to become. That's sort of like, you know, very, very important. So inside the career objective, don't copy paste it, because as recruiters, it's very, very easy to understand, you know, this is not what you really mean. All right, inside this paragraph is a career objective paragraph, and if I refresh it, okay. I specifically put it this way because, you know, whenever I'm kind of like, you know, trying to, I could have just pulled this window to this left, but whenever I'm writing some code, it becomes a lot more clumsy to look at the code. That's the reason kind of like, you know, switching back from one tab to another. All right. Right. So for now, when we add this career objective, what happens is it kind of like displays it below the other div. But what I said is I want this bottom div to kind of like display right here, right? I want these two divs to kind of like display one beside the other. So this is where we're going to use once again the float property that we learned earlier, just 5 minutes back. So the above div which we have, I'm going to add a style attribute to it, and I'm going to say float left. And if I say refresh and go back, awesome, brilliant. Now we have this one section where we are going to add sort of like our immediate details that any recruiter needs to know. And on the right, Suryadeep, why can't you use HTML tables so that it will look a lot more better? Yeah, we can use HTML tables. The beauty of HTML is that, you know, you can use any sort of tags that you want. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible. You know, I want to make it as clean as possible. So without making it as complex as possible, you know, it has to be simple, elegant and neat looking. So that is sort of the aim that I've put in, and by using as little elements as possible, because we spent only 1.5 to 2 hours with HTML. So it won't be really wise to kind of like, you know, overload you with hundreds of tags, because, you know, when you delve a lot more deeper into HTML, there are different tags that are used for different purposes. Like, you know, there's a separate tag for drop down, separate tag for input, separate tags for buttons. But if I kind of like, you know, overload you with all that information, it's going to be really difficult for you to understand and use these tags. So I'm trying to kind of like slowly introduce them. Great. So now that we used float, now that we have, you know, these two sections as side by side sections, now what I want to do is I want to kind of like, you know, continue adding more information. So now that I have added the career objective paragraph, I want to have a separation, right? So let's just say I'm going to add a heading called as skills, right? If I go and refresh. So now there is no difference in between these two, right? So it how neat it would look if I have a neat little line that is dividing these two particular sections. We can do that by using something called as HR. HR is not the human resource department. HR basically means a horizontal line. All right. So just like a BR line, just like a break tag, we can also use HR just like this. It doesn't contain any sort of opening tag, it doesn't contain any sort of closing tag, it's just a tag which does a small function, right, which serves its only purpose. If I say HR and if I go refresh, how neat is that? It creates a clean little line for us, and it separates these two sections, just like how you would create an online, just like how you would create a resume in Google Docs or Microsoft Word or any other online other platforms, right? Going back inside the skills, so we learned a lot of skills in the last 2 days, right? We learned about web programming, we learned about HTML, we learned about CSS. Now we are using those skills to kind of like, you know, create our own website. So now when you're going to create a resume, you want to showcase your particular skills, not stills, skills. So for that, you're going to have a list, all right? And this can be an unorganized list or an organized list, it depends upon you. So I'm going to take an unorganized list, which means basically UL. And inside the unorganized list, we're going to have a list item, which is indicated by li, and always don't forget to close your tags. So the first skill I'm going to type in is HTML, and let's also create another list item, CSS, right? If I save and if I go back and if I hit refresh, we have these two neat little beautiful skills that we learned in the last 2 days, all right? Basically, you guys are already web developers. All you need to do is kind of like, you know, practice some more, advance a little bit more, learn more stuff, and you would be even more full-fledged developers. All right, I'll have another list item. Let's just say I learned JavaScript as well. If I save and go back, and if I have like, you know, 3 neat little skills to kind of like, you know, showcase our resume, right? You can add even more skills if you have any sort of other skills as well. EC students, if you've worked on any sort of electronics, if you've worked on any sort of Arduino, Raspberry Pi, you can also add that. CSE students, if you know any other skill, you can also add C language, which is mandatory for every student in B.Tech for first years. So you can now add C language if you are not in first year, if you are in third, fourth, or any other year. You can also add the different languages that you get taught in college: Java, Python, C, R, anything. All right. So for me, I'm going to add these 3 skills. I think these should be sufficient for me, at least at this point in time. Then again, I want another separation, so I'm going to add a HR tag. Beautiful. See, our resume is kind of like, you know, coming together. It kind of like looks a lot more neat. If I kind of like, you know, zoom out, it looks a lot better. Eventually, by the end of this class, we're going to, you know, separate these 2 elements a little bit more. We're going to give them a lot more spacing. All right. Once this is done, what you also want to do is kind of like, you know, showcase your work experience, your projects. So once again, let's create a heading, and for all the heading tags, see how I'm using different heading tags for different purposes. For these small headings, I'm using H3. So this is H3 and this is the H3, and this is a H2, if I remember right. Yeah, so that is a H2 and this is H3. So depending upon the importance of the titles inside a website, you kind of like, you know, use different tags. So this is a very important title. It basically displays my name, you know, which is the first thing that any recruiter is going to look at. And as you go further down the hierarchy, you can use smaller and smaller heading tags to display a lot more, you know, nuanced stuff. For example, when I say projects in the next heading, and I really hope you guys are following along with me. I hope you guys are doing this thing along with me, not just watching, because programming is something that you absolutely cannot remember just by watching. I want you all to sit down, open your laptops, and do it along with me, all right? All right, inside the projects tab, what I want to do is I want to kind of like, you know, add a project. The first project, I can give a heading, and for this heading, I can use a H file. Once again, the hierarchy. So inside the project, which means it's a subdomain of that particular project. So I'm going to use another non-important tag, which means a less important tag, my own personal website. Save it, go back, refresh, right? It looks a lot more cleaner when you have this huge H3 tag indicating what the section is about, and it clearly shows the distinction between what is a section, what is, you know, the subtopics inside a section, right? My own personal website. And also And also one more thing while creating a resume, when you're kind of like talking about projects, always make sure to note down or kind of like, you know, emphasize about what was your role. What was your role in terms of adding your role in creating that particular project, all right? Because that is going to be very, very important. So we have small questions. Can we use heading tags like H1 and H2 twice? If you mean twice inside the same document, yes you can, because at this point of time I've used the H3 tag like, you know, multiple times. If there is something else, you can kind of like, you know, give me a detailed question so that I can understand that better. Is there a chance for adding buttons that include links? Yes, you can do that, absolutely. So we'll sort of do that at the end. Initially what I want to do is I want to kind of like, you know, give you a brief about a practice or a real world experience sort of thing with a resume of your own. Alright, so my own personal website, and always like I said, include your contribution to that particular project. I built this entire project on my own after watching 2 days of HTML and CSS live stream on Cynohub. Alright, so you can always kind of like give a brief description. Oh, and one more thing which you need to know is, since this particular tab, you know, this particular tab is or this particular division is just this long, you know, whatever that overflows this particular division is kind of like, you know, automatically comes down towards the left of a little bit. So what we can do is we can sort of add a lot more details on towards the left side, or we can just leave it as it is for now. We can fix it up later. So similar to this, add a couple of more projects, 2 or 3 different projects. I'm just going to copy and paste this for the sake of saving some time. All right. So there you have it. So sort of like a small quick little website, a small quick little resume of sort. Now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of like improve the looks of it. I know it's just, you know, plain black and white. It's just like every ordinary resume that we look at. So why don't we add something, or why don't we change something? Why don't we make it look a lot more neater, right? So this is where 2 more things come in. So first thing, let's look at how to change the font of the website, because at this point of time I don't really like this particular font. I think it's Times New Roman or some other font of that. But how to change the font of this website? So firstly, what you can do is you can do that by saying, yeah, it looks like same like the LinkedIn account page. Alright, Blue Spy Discord. Discord is not something that we have yet at the moment, but if you guys are interested, we can create a Cynohub Discord server in which, you know, we can actively discuss and kind of like, you know, form a community of developers and actively discuss and plan future live sessions as well. Alright, so for changing the font style, or for changing the text, what is it called? Fonts, I'm sorry. Yeah, to change the font, I'm getting distracted. Alright, to change the font, what we can do is, for example, let's say I want to change the font of all the H3 tags, right? So we can just say H3, and for changing the font, I have to say font style, and basically I have to kind of like, you know, name a particular style. For example, let's just see if we have Helvetica. Is it even the right spelling? Oops, I don't think it is. Helvetica font, we have the Helvetica font, but I don't think it's included in it. Alright, so what we can also do is we can go to fonts.google.com. I'm going to leave this link in the description once again. Alright, fonts.google.com. Inside this, I have this my favorite font, Roboto. Click on this. You can actually select any other font that you like. If I go back, we have several different fonts, different languages as well, I guess. But you know, I personally prefer use double quotes. That's your mistake. Where? Acha, okay. Does it really work if I use double quotes? I don't think. I think Helvetica is an outside font, and I think we have to kind of like include it. Alright, so go to the Roboto font and select a couple of styles which you want, you know, all of these are different variations of the same font. So select a couple of these. I'm selecting, you know, the light versions and a bold version. And whatever you selected, you kind of like, you know, get on the right side of the things, all the list of the different types of the same individual font that are being selected. Then what you can do is go to embed and go to import and copy this particular thing. All right, I'm just going to repeat the process. This is going to be helpful for you when you're trying to kind of like, you know, import different fonts. Go to fonts.google.com, select a font, select the different variations you want inside that particular font, then go to import, or is it import? Yeah. Then go to import, then kind of like, you know, sorry, then go to this particular section which is called as embed, go to import, and inside the import just copy this particular text. What it basically does is, when you import this particular font, it gives you your project the ability to use that particular font inside your project, right? So now we included a font called as Roboto. So now what we can do is we can go in, down to H3 and we can just say Roboto and save. Let's see if I save, if I go back, refresh. Oops, it's not working, which means that was not the issue of that. Okay, let's see what the issue is here. All right, interesting. All right, there seems to be some sort of an issue in just changing the font. That's not supposed to happen. Let's just solve it right here and right now. Awesome. Interesting issue. Oh, sorry. Is it font family though? Oh, awesome. So my bad, it was a mistake on my end. It was not font style, it was just basically font family. Apologies on that. So I think Helvetica is also going to work if I do this. Helvetica, save, go back. Yeah, it is working. Apologies on my end. So that is font family, not font style. I hope you guys have sort of like, you know, cleared that particular thing. It's font family, not font style. All right. Yep, that's a problem. Awesome. So let's switch back to Roboto. Now the website looks a lot cleaner. This font looks a lot better. You know, our headings, all our H3 tags are basically, you know, converted back to Roboto. Now, what we can also do is we can go back and we can also change our paragraph tags to font family as well. Font family Roboto as well. Right? Pardon my English. Refresh it, and great. So now even this particular paragraph tag has also changed it style to Roboto. Now instead of like, you know, adding each and every single tag manually, what we can do is we can just say star. All right, star basically means select all the documents inside, select all the elements inside the document and apply these particular styles to them. All right, we can say font family Roboto. Save, go back, refresh. Great. Now the whole website has the Roboto font, right? You can import a couple of more fonts from the Google fonts page. You can kind of like, you know, give your website a little bit more variation. You can have different fonts for the headings. You can have different fonts for the paragraphs. Anything that you choose. You know, this is your creative space. Do anything that you sort of wish. All right. Then what we're going to do is, once we have the font style changed, let's see if we can add some sort of icons. Or before we do that, shall we kind of like, you know, change the colors a bit as well. Let's go to material ui.co/colors. Is this the right link? Awesome. This is the right link. I'm going to paste the link in the chat. So this is a website, you know, that we talked about earlier. I did not want you guys to use the basic random colors that HTML basically gives you, like red, blue, green. I want you to use some nuanced colors, some good shades of different colors, so that it looks a lot better on the website. It looks a lot better on your resume as well. And there are some concerns also. Yeah, one more concern which I regularly hear while creating a resume is that should you use different colors? Should you print out a color resume? All of these things don't really matter when I'm kind of like when you're presenting your resume to a recruiter, because ultimately what the recruiter does is he checks whether you as a person would you be compatible to kind of like work inside the company. So that's you don't really micromanage or micro kind of like specific, be obsessed over all the little things inside a resume. Make sure the resume looks clean. Make sure it looks a lot it looks a little bit different. Make sure it kind of like emphasizes on important points and showcases what's really important. How can we highlight the words? I mean bold. So if you want to bold the words, what you can do is you can kind of like add a strong tag. But one more thing which you can also do is using CSS. If I want to kind of like bold all the paragraph tags, what I can say is I can say font weight. Right? This is another property inside CSS. So like I said, there are several properties inside CSS. If we kind of like dive in and keep exploring it, it's a never-ending process almost. So you guys kind of like you have to sort of explore, learn about new properties, kind of like implement them, experiment with stuff and all that good stuff. All right. So let's kind of like change the color of the heading. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say H3. Inside H3 I'm going to say color, and I'm going to take one specific color. Let's say I take blue. Paste it, refresh. Oops, what happened? Okay, 1 second, looks like there is some sort of issue. Oh, this thing went into another monitor. All right, so if I do this color and great, we are back. Okay, so the mouse, there's some issue with the mouse. It's not working how I want it to work. All right, so if I do this H3, it should work. It should say when I add color to it. What's happening? What is the issue here? Why is H3 not working? All right, are you guys able to get this one? Is it something wrong on my end? Am I screwing something up again, or even you guys are able to fix it? Put a semicolon on the end. It's a good practice, but I don't think that is going to really break the website or make it not renderable. Let's just see. 1 second. We'll solve this. So this is the kind of the fun of programming. Whenever we get an issue, kind of like we have to sit down, we have to solve it. All right, so looks like we don't have to sort of mention this. Is it right? Oh, yep. Sort of we don't have to kind of like give that sort of quotation marks for that particular thing. Then now all the H3 tags have changed color, right? So I'll quickly switch back to chat. Have you guys figured things out? Last 4 minutes. Yes, Devinder, the website is almost done. Now what we want to do is, now that we have sort of like our different colors for our websites, one more thing which I want to show is what if I don't want to kind of like have these black dots for my list, right? What we can do is we can go to the styling we can say UL, which is an ordered list, and for that we can say font, oh sorry, not list style none. All right, so you don't have to kind of like memorize all of these different properties. There, it's gone, magic, right? So you don't have to kind of like memorize all these different properties. If you sit down to memorize it, if you kind of like note it down, kind of like learn it all night long, it won't be sufficient. This is something that you kind of like as you keep working on different websites, this is something that you eventually intuitively understand, right? So don't kind of like try to remember every single tag or every single CSS property, because ultimately this is something that we can easily Google, right? Anything, if you kind of like want to do anything in HTML or anything in CSS, because in a span of 3 days or in a span of 3 hours that we spend together, there is only so much that we can get into. But I hope I've been able to kind of like deliver a proper good introduction for you guys to kind of like get started on how to keep buttons. All right, so if you really want to have a button that bad, what we can do is it's basically the same thing. Have a button tag. It's that simple, right? HTML, it's explains itself. This is a button. All right, so there is your button. Great. So once you have this button, you can kind of like add some more styling to it. You kind of like remove the background, kind of like add some borders, make it looks a lot more neat. Can you create a video on different questions to ask? Okay, that will ask about the interview. Yes, one more thing which I forgot to mention is absolutely subscribe to the channel, stay tuned, kind of like put your post notifications on, because next Wednesday you're going to get a video about resume, right? We apply to a lot of jobs, and all of these jobs kind of like yeah, I'll get back to the comments. Yeah, so when you apply to jobs, a lot of these companies reject a lot of resumes outright. They don't even look at all the skills required. They just kind of like throw the resume out. Why do these companies throw these resumes out? The main reasons why your resume gets rejected is the topic that we're going to discuss on Wednesday. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Make sure kind of you have your post notifications on. That is going to be a very interesting topic. Yes, Jana Gudivada, you need some more practice on HTML and CSS. Absolutely. Anything that you learn, just like I said, this is just a medium of communication. HTML programming is just a medium of communication. Just like anything else, you need a lot more practice to kind of like understand it, make it your second language. Just like how you speak in English or how you speak in Hindi, you easily know what to do, what to say, or what to write when you want to kind of like program or make your website function or behave a certain way. Great. So now before we close, what I want to do is I want to kind of like change the colors of this particular project headings, and which is H3, which is H5, right? So go back to your style section. Inside your style section, yeah, say H5 and say color. And once again, don't make the same mistake that I did. Don't add quotations. Pick another good color that you feel is going to make your website look a lot more neat. Semicolon. One second, refresh, and there it is. I don't think it's that noticeable, but it's a small little touch that kind of like makes the website look a lot more clean. All right, so you guys are asking about how to add link to the button, right? How can we pop up the system after Beast assemble? How can we pop up the system time after clicking button? I don't understand that. Okay, how can you make the pop-up time? Okay, that's going to require JavaScript. That's a little bit more advanced. For that, you need to kind of like understand how to implement JavaScript. But one thing I think what we can do is we can sort of see what we by clicking a button, we can take the user to another page. I think that we can do. That should be possible. All right, so I'll talk about links then. So if you guys are willing to spend another 15 minutes, I think we can discuss that as well. All right, so let me know if you want me to continue the class then. And one more thing, so if you don't want this to kind of like look like this ugly piece of mess that it is, what we can do is we can sort of like add a height to this particular thing, div, and not only float left, height of 100%, go back, refresh, beautiful. right? All right. So one more small thing which I want to kind of like discuss before you guys kind of like leave is that I want to separate these two things. I want to have some space between it, which means I want to have some space on the right side of this particular section, right? Which means in terms of HTML, I want to have a margin. All right. The space in between two things is called as basically a margin. All right. So let's add a margin to that particular section. Go back, go to this div, and say margin. And where do you want the margin to be at? Towards the right side, right? Margin right. Say 25 pixels. Save. Go back. Refresh. There it is. It looks a lot more cleaner, right? So you can kind of like create, do stuff, add some more images to it, add some more small icons to it, add some more text to it, add some more links to it, add some more buttons, different styles, colors. Try to change this robot image to your own image, which is going to look a lot more neat, right? So you can do a lot of more cool stuff when you're actually working with HTML and CSS. Perfect. So that's all things that I want to discuss. All right. So since you guys have been asking me sort of, let's create some links as well as let's see how to navigate our user from one page to another page. Great. So for that, what we have to do, the first thing is we need to create a file. So here it is. Click on this particular thing. It creates a new file. So name your file, which means basically you're creating another HTML file. So like I said, if you remember, any website, the root of that website is your index.html, which means just like any house has your main entrance, every website has index.html. Now, when you want to kind of like create a new page, you can name it anything. How can we add a background photo? Okay, let me show that as well in a minute. So the second page can be second.html. All right, anything. The name of your page is completely up to you. The way you access second.html is you have this whole link, right? You go to this link and by default it is displaying the index.html. So you say /second.html. Yeah, so this is the second.html. Okay, in order to kind of like get some clarity, this is second HTML page. H1, save it, and if I go back, brilliant. All right, so now we have two pages. Now we have to figure out a way for the user to navigate from one page to another. How to get our own website link after creating a website. Jana Gudivada, we are going to do that in just more 5 minutes. We are going to take this whole resume and we are going to upload it. We are going to host it onto a website and have our own personal link where we can share our resume to our friends. All right. So we are going to do that very quickly. And we're also going to see how to add a vertical line, that divides these two segments neatly as well. Just as quickly as I finish this particular small bit. All right. So inside my index.html, what I'm going to do is, instead of button, I'm going to add a tag. All right. And inside this a tag, we are going to have a href. 1 second, let me fix my mouse. All right. Inside this a tag. All right. So yeah, as I was saying, so we need to have an a tag, and obviously it also has an open and closing braces. Inside this, we have this attribute called as href, which basically means reference. All right. So basically, what href means is that what should I do when you click on me? Are you guys following? Is it confusing? How can we add margins all over the page? All right, I'll get to that as well. All right, so inside the href, what we're going to do is we're going to add our second.html. Okay, and between these two, between this opening and closing brace, we're going to have something that kind of like indicates that this is a link. Go to second page. If I do this and if I save that and if I go back and if I refresh, instead of the button, I have this text, and this text has a weird purple glow to it, which basically indicates that it's a link. And when we click on this particular link, we navigate ourselves to the second page. All right. So that's how you kind of like navigate to one page from one page to another. And if you want to kind of like have a button do that. Oxer mouse disha. And if you want a button to do that, what you can do is, instead of this go to second page, you can say a button. You can have a button inside this tag, a tag inside another tag, just like we always do. Second page. Alright, save, go back, refresh. We have a button. When we click it, it goes to the second page. Awesome. Now, one more thing which we have to kind of like, do before we quickly is have a different segmentation, right? So we need to have a horizontal line, which this is the horizontal line. So we need to have a vertical line. So basically for vertical line, we don't have any, predefined HTML, element. So we have to kind of like, create our own. We have to get creative, right? So what we're going to do is, inside for the first div, we're going to add a border. And the cool thing about the border is that, we can specify it on which side we want. Let's say we want it on the right side, we can say border right, 1 pixel, solid, black, just like how we would add a regular border. Save it, go back, refresh. We have this nice little line. All right. So great. One more thing, how can we add content in the second page? The way you can add content in the second page is exactly how you would add content in the first page. It's basically just another HTML document, which means, head, body and foot, remember that. You can add a HTML first tag, and inside the HTML tag, you're free to do whatever you want. So similarly, how I add a H1 tag, you can go for it as well. All right, looks like that's a lot of information. So this is your neat little website, is your neat little resume. What you can do is you can actually print this out. Yeah, so we'll quickly add a human face to that, so it looks a lot more neater. Is neater even a word? Face. Great, I'm going to drag an image to our folder, and this is also going to kind of like, clear the doubt of how to add our own custom images to this particular project as well. This is the photo, and instead of the source, instead of this link, what we can do is we can just give the name of the particular photo that we imported. Resume photo.jpg. This is a JPG picture, so make sure always be sure what type of format you're importing. And if I refresh, we have Mark Zuckerberg. All right, so you can add your own picture. You can kind of like, add somebody else's picture, but don't do that. Sort of, you can have some fun little resumes. You can create your own resume. And the reason why it looks this weird is because, we sort of are specifying the width of it. If I just say, oh, you're not. All right, maybe we can say width. Oh, yeah. We are specifying the width of it because we wrote the styles up here. If I just remove width, it's just going to be automatic. Save, go back, refresh. It looks a lot, the circle is extended, but the image looks a lot more cleaner, all right? So you get the picture, you kind of like, have to experiment around, think about it. A background image, the way you do background images, for example, let us say we want to add background image for the second div is how to direct to some other website. I'll show you that as well. So style, background, and instead of kind of like, giving a color name, this time what you can do is you can just say it is a URL. And inside the URL, just like any image tag, you can either create a link of it, or you can kind of like, a link of it, or you can kind of like, create, I'm losing English. You can just kind of like, name the picture, basically, yeah. Write the name of the picture. And if I refresh it, there's Mark Zuckerberg painted all over the website. Alright, it looks a lot weirder. There's some more kind of like, properties which help you to kind of like get the image to look a lot more clean, not to kind of like, repeat. One particular style property is, background repeat, no repeat. I think that is something you can kind of like, look about it. Ajay, can you show me how to have a vertical line again? So in order to have a vertical line, in order to have a vertical line, let me have some water. In order to have a vertical line, we just have a border towards the right of it, towards the right of the div. And yeah, so that's how you do it. And if you kind of like, are a little bit more confused, I can show you, where did we have the border? Yeah, so border right. So what it does is it kind of like, displays a border only towards the right. And the best part about all of this is you can print it out. This is a resume that you kind of like, you don't have to rely on any other template. You can print this out. You can kind of like, carry it to your job interviews. It's going to be so much fun. And whenever the interviewer asks you, you can kind of like, proudly say that you made this on your own using HTML and CSS. That was very, very fun. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me for these 3 days. And for the end of it, we're just going to learn how to create a link URL of this particular resume. So first thing what you need to do is you download this whole project. And once you have the project downloaded, go to, okay, how to navigate to some other website. The way you do that is instead of this second.html, you kind of like, give the link for some other website. Just in case I want to say .google.com. All right. I just want to make sure all the doubts are cleared. And if I click it, I go to google.com. So that's how we do it. All right. I hope that is clear. Inside the href tag, you're just going to give the link of where you want the website to navigate. That's how things work. And when I download that little project, I get a zip file. I'm going to extract it, and I have a folder. Then you're going to go to our trusty app.netlify.com/drop. I'm going to leave this link, or I'm going to drop this link in the comment section below. And guys, all absolutely, please do share the websites that you have created. I would love to have a look at them. We can share wonderful websites with our student community. You guys have worked really hard for the past 2 days in order to create your website. Now, once you have downloaded the file, once you have extracted it, you get a folder and drag and drop that particular folder onto Netlify. And for me, just like always, it troubles me a lot, but for you, it's going to work a lot better than it does for me, because I'm in a weird type of an internet. Great, it's live. Finally, it works on the second time. Great. So you get it, you have the link, you have your own resume. Awesome stuff. Thank you so much for joining me. Hope you guys learned something. Hope you guys had fun these 3 days. If you have any sort of more questions, we're going to wrap up the whole session very soon. It's 8:15. You guys stayed a lot longer than just typical 1 hour. So like I promised, we are done with 3 days. You have learned HTML and you have learned CSS. You have made your own website. You have your own resume to showcase. You have a project that works kind of like, as a physical representation of what you made and what you learned. Awesome job. Congratulations. You have learned a new skill. I mean, how cool is that? Just 2 days back, you did not know what HTML was, what CSS was, how to create a website. And now within just 2.5 to 3 hours, you have learned this. Amazing job. Well done, guys. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any sort of questions, do leave them in the comment section below. I'll stay for the next 5 minutes. I'll try to answer some more questions. We have kind of prolonged the class way too long, and with this we're going to finish the session. Do stay subscribed to the channel. Do kind of put your notifications on. We're going to have a lot more stuff coming forward. Awesome. So any more questions, we can take them. So one more small thing which I wanted to say is, whenever you're kind of referring back to these videos, do share these videos with your classmates, your colleagues, your friends, your best friends, your friends from 10th, your friends from Inter, your own classmates from B.Tech, anybody. So ideally, you kind of form a 3 members group team to work on these websites. It's going to be a lot more easier. Divide your task among your friends to kind of make it easier for all of you. Any more questions? I'm here for the next 5 minutes. We can answer more questions. If it's done, we can kind of close the session, have a neat little wrap to this 3-day insane workshop. Can we have Telegram group to discuss? Telegram group or Discord, I think depending upon as we grow further, I think we'll definitely have a small session where we can also, or platform where we can discuss and clarify doubts. But in the meantime, do leave your comments do leave your questions or suggestions in the video's comment section below. I keep referring back to comments. I'll try to answer each and every single one of them. So please do leave them in the comment section below. I'll absolutely get back to that. But definitely we'll have a Discord or Telegram in the future. Sainath, my pleasure, man. I'm glad you guys learned something. If you're still watching, go follow us on Instagram. It's CYNOHUB. Follow us there. We're trying to kind of like, post some cool stuff. We talk about new technologies, why we need programming, resume tips, job tips, anything a B.Tech student might require. Once again, Cynohub is a B.Tech online learning platform for B.Tech students. For B.Tech students, anything you require, from lecture notes to lecture videos to live classes to job skills program, anything a B.Tech student might require from his day 1 of his first year to the day end of his 4th year, even after you graduate. This is a very, very essential application. We have some very, very cool stuff coming into the Cynohub platform. Do check it out. Go to Google Play Store, search for Cynohub. It's CYNOHUB. I'm screaming. My voice is at the top. So please do check it out. Ajay Vardhan, thank you. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for joining in. And I think I'll end the session. I think there are no more doubts. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. This has been Cynohub. How to add vertical line with limited height? I think kind of like, Akhil, try to search around on Google. You'll find some more solutions. Otherwise, kind of like, leave a comment. I'll try to answer that with a lot more detailed explanation. All right. Thank you so much for joining in. Take care. Stay safe. Regularly wash your hands. There's a pandemic outside. Stay safe. Stay home unless and until required. And if you have, when will be your next live session? The next live session will be soon, hopefully the next one week or 2 weeks. You'll be intimated in the channel. Do subscribe. Shall we call it anytime, sir? Call. Okay. How can you call? Do you have my number? All right. So like I was saying, do subscribe to the channel. We're kind of like, coming up with a lot more new and more interesting stuff. And yeah, so I'll leave for now. You guys, exams might come up. B.Tech exams might be there at the end of October. So be prepared for that. If you have any sort of questions, if you want to, any sort of guidance to prepare, do check out the Cynohub app. Inside the Cynohub app, we have, we have previous question papers, we have lecture notes, we have lecture videos divided into neat little topics based exactly on your particular syllabus. So please refer back to the application. If you have any sort of questions, do leave them in the comment section below. And looks like I'm kind of like, beating a dead horse. I'm kind of repeating the same things which I said earlier. All right, I'll just leave. Thank you so much for coming. Bye bye. Take care.